this is Dan Ferrisi, Group Director of Content and Editorial, Industrial and Tech at Emerald. So happy to be joined today by Karthick Kanagalingam, who is Architectural Specifications Manager with Somfy. And we want to talk about how commercial AV has become an increasingly important focus for automated shading. And I know, Karthick, you and Somfy are uniquely well positioned to opine on this. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate the time investment.
Thank you, Dan. Happy to be here and happy to do this with your team.
Absolutely. So as I said, I think it's inarguable the increasingly important focus that has been placed on automated shading in commercial AV contexts. What would you say is driving the opportunity, and how has Somfy evolved to better support commercial integrators and consultants?
Dan, that's a really great question because from my years of experience, I've seen Somfy grow tremendously over the years. I've been with Somfy since 2015. And I've seen the market change and the industry change, and Somfy has been widely known in the residential and commercial space. We have an architectural team dedicated and focused and assisting on specifying the right technologies for smart integrated buildings and pro AV integration. We also have a partnership channel manager who spearheads the initiatives to maintain and grow the vendor list of control systems. How we're positioning with the Pro AV and the Integrator channel, as well as consultants. Basically, we're being introduced to new vendors vendors with well-established presence in the industry for certified integrations. And we're actually actively looking to make sure that the leaders in the Pro AV control systems have a direct integration method with Somfy. Lastly, on consultants, we're constantly seeing them adapt to innovative proven technologies within commercial spaces with trusted brands. Somfy has been manufacturing motors and controls for over 57 years, which provides the reassurance that consultants vet within their decision-making process.
So I want to talk a little bit about the whole idea of playing well with others. I think that's especially important in the technology space these days. In practical terms, what does that mean for an integrator when he or she is evaluating platforms? And why does validated interoperability matter so much to those integrators? How does it differ from relying on proprietary ecosystems, for example?
Another great question, Dan. It's pretty much we strongly support open ecosystems and native validated compatibility. Our goal and ultimately is to help integrators avoid proprietary vendor lock-ins by ensuring technologies that operate and integrate seamlessly with their preferred platforms. Ultimately, a unified user experience with a single point of control has been a driver for playing well with others within modern boardrooms. When you think about training facilities and multi-purpose spaces, the clients that are occupying these spaces, they expect a seamless control rather than navigating separate wall stations for lighting or HVAC and shades. The end users want a unified interface, and that's where the integrator comes in. Commercial integrators are tasked with combining AV equipment, ambient lighting, motorization into a single point of control or scenes. With Somfy, playing well with others allows you to pick or specify your favorite control system to meet the job requirements and confidently know Somfy has a technology to make it work with any of those systems that you choose or prefer to work with.
So you said the word seamless. I want to bring up something that is not seamless. It's really a persistent issue in commercial projects. It's that shading tends to live in Division 12 while you have AV, lighting controls, and BMS landing in Divisions 25, 26, 27. That seems to create a disconnect, I would think, and it probably creates some problems in bidding, specification, and project execution. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we can consider it an issue, but it's really a bigger disconnect. And the disconnect during design is that, as you mentioned, Division 12 focuses on furnishings and roller shades, and typically this is authored by the architects or the interior designers. And sometimes, or most often, this happens at a later stage of the project than the other divisions coordinations that happened earlier. While Division 25, which is integrated automation, Division 26 being electrical, and Division 27 being communications, they're typically written by the MEP engineers or mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, and the technology consultants. Typically, that happens at an earlier stage. So the disconnect between the two specification stages happens quite often of having the wrong system specified. And there's a common term in the industry referred to as the gray zone, specifically in relation to who specifies the control interface. If Division 12 specifies motorized shades with integration capability, and then Division 25 or 27 specifies a master control panel, the exact protocol that's used, whether that's BACnet or RS-45 or IP, or even dry contact, they may go undefined or missed. Now, without early cross-division coordination, the shading manufacturer might end up with the wrong controls on the project and may have already installed the wrong controls, but now they may have to go back and require expensive third-party translation gateways to speak to the AV control system or the BMS building management system. Because no single division owns the end-to-end functionality, missing integration gateways, licenses, and labor surface late in the bidding process, which leads to costly change orders on projects that clients don't really like. Lastly, on project execution, we also come across a lot of the finger pointing instances where during commissioning, if a shade scene fails to trigger from a wall keypad or an AV touch panel, Division 12 often blames the AV programmer, and then the AV programmer often blames the roller shade contractor or the network, and then sometimes it might be the wiring, and Division 26 claims that power and data wiring was provided to code and to shop drawings. In a perfect world, consultants and Pro-V integrators will help ensure the right technology is selected for the integration. They'd include the right stakeholders to ensure coordination is properly identified and specified. Then specifying the right Somfy technology within the project will help the roller shade contractors put the right system in place and the AV integrators to have and be ready for the integration with certified drivers.
So let's talk a little bit about workflow simplification, particularly as AV integrators do work to coordinate with shade fabricators and other project stakeholders. What are the keys beyond what you've shared so far to workflow simplification, and where does open fabricator choice fit into this whole equation?
And I think to better understand this is to address how Somfy goes to market and what the strategy is. And that should help paint the picture to an AV integrator on why open fabricator choice is very beneficial. So Somfy sells their motor and control systems through roller shade fabricators. They play a key role in actually manufacturing the shade system. The fabricators then have dealers and subcontractors, and these dealers and subcontractors can either be a roller shade subcontractor or an AV integrator. Somfy is brand agnostic when it comes to the shade fabricators, and as an AV integrator, you should have options for controls, and as such, you should have options to choose your preferred fabricator for the roller shade system. Somfy's goal is to make sure that we train all our fabricators with all our different technologies, and additionally, make sure that the dealers and subcontractors and integrators are trained as well to be able to fully support and sell any of the technologies that are specified and do so confidently. We focus on bridging the gap between Division 12, which is your shading fabrication, and Division 27 by providing standardized motor control technologies, specifically through the Somfy digital network system or our Somfy Power over Ethernet technology. Whether you use Fabricator A or Fabricator B, Somfy motors communicate using a Synergy API or an IP method of integration or RS-485. Architects and designers are then freely able to specify the fabrics based on their solar heat gain coefficient or visible light transmittance, as well as the aesthetic weaves or acoustic properties from any fabric manufacturers or shade fabricators. Regardless of who fabricates the physical shade or which fabric is chosen, the AV integrator gets 100% control standardization with Somfy, and that's where we have that flexibility of having an open fabricator choice for the AV integrator.
So I'd like to talk a little bit about tested native integrations with the platforms that I know integrators are using every day. I'm thinking about Crestron, QSys, Extron, so many more. What does tested and validated actually mean here? Can you help me understand the value and the meaning of that?
Certainly. When we say Somfy driver or integration module is tested and validated, what we mean is that it has undergone rigorous structured co-engineering and joint laboratory testing rather than relying on unverified custom code written on site or in the field. Both partners, Somfy and the industry-wide control systems, we jointly build and collaborate on developing a working solution. We both share products with each other and test in real time the integrations between both parties at our facilities and theirs, and we find bugs or feature improvements and share it with each other to help improve the overall experience. As a result, an AV integrator can confidently know that when both systems are being deployed in the field, it has been 100% validated in-house, and that they don't have to waste constant hours and labor to make it work. The integration driver is published directly within the control platform's official database or driver portal, for example, within Crestron Application Market or QSys Design Asset Manager or Extron Control Scripting Libraries. To achieve this, the drivers must pass the platform's formal certification testing for stability, memory usage, and error handling. And additionally, there is an operational confidence in the system because the driver is certified. Tech support teams at Crestron or QSys or Extron and Somfy can collaboratively troubleshoot issues rather than pointing fingers at unverified third-party code. And that's what it means when we talk about tested and validated.
So, Karthik, as we begin to wrap up the conversation, I want to end on a note of real tangibility. So, take a smart boardroom entering presentation mode. What happens across shading, lighting, AV, and the room environment? And what does that sequence reveal about how coordinated automation really ought to work?
Yeah, so here's how the scenario unfolds. Let's take, for an example, a high-performance smart boardroom, followed by a sequence of events that reveals about how modern building automation should take place. When a presenter goes in and taps presentation mode on the AV touch panel, there's a coordinated multi-system sequence of events that gets executed across 4 distinct layers in pretty much under 5 seconds. The first action that is triggered is your automated shading system, where your motorized blackout shades will descend smoothly on the exterior windows as well as if there is interior glass walls to eliminate glare on screens and ensure that there's privacy. We also have precision-driven motors running at synchronized speed so that the hem bars line up evenly across all the windows during the transition of the shade system. Moving on, we then have the dynamic lighting action, where we have the direct overhead downlights above the main display zone instantly turn off to maximize the screen contrast. The perimeter architectural lighting and table seating lights fade down over 3 seconds to 20% luminance, preventing any kind of eye fatigue, and while a low glare accent light remains active on the presenter. The third action that takes place is your audio-visual system. The laser projector powers up, the motorized projection screen drops down from the ceiling pocket, the audio routing switches to the room's wireless mic input, and the video switcher selects the primary presentation input. Lastly, the fourth action that takes place, and it's quiet, is the room environment and the climate action. The BMS detects that the room has transitioned into an active meeting state, so the HVAC dampers adjust to increase fresh airflow and also lower noise levels. When we think about the end users, they don't want to go and adjust 5 individual dimmer channels and 8 individual window shades before starting a meeting. They are already short on time to start and want to get the flow going right away. Real integration abstracts technical complexity into an intent-driven user interface. A single button trigger presentation mode, it translates into a dozen of discrete system commands behind the scenes. And in closing, this is how a coordinated automation system should work. And this can apply beyond the modern boardroom when we think about the rest of the occupied building space. We have examples such as automation in unoccupied spaces where people are maybe working from home and the office is less occupied during that time. There's a sequence of events that may take in effect during that time period. Or even automation for security events, if there's a fire alarm or an emergency lockdown situation. We also have automation for peak energy demand periods or automation for high glare and solar heat gain conditions. All of these automations within the building, it will help drive owner and occupant satisfaction and experience, and ultimately proving there is a high return and value on the investment of integration and how all the parts and pieces of a building space fit together to create that true smart building experience.
There's no doubt there is a very high return on investment for that. And thank you so much, Karthick Kanagalingam, for raising our own collective IQ about, automated shading and particularly how it is becoming especially important in commercial AV these days. I really appreciate the time investment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. We also appreciate you bringing us on and making sure we address the elephant in the room when it comes to automated motorized roller shades.
Always a pleasure to talk to Karthick Kanagalingam, who is Architectural Specifications Manager with Somfy. My name is Dan Ferrisi, Group Director of Content and Editorial, Industrial and Tech at Emerald. Please do keep your eyes on commercialintegrator.com in the days, weeks, and months ahead as we continue our coverage of this important developing category and the industry leaders within it, industry leaders exactly like Somfy.